has been at their organization over a year and has never received a formal performance evaluation? Who here feels like sometimes their organization places the priorities of their patrons above those of their employees? Before I founded Capacity Interactive, I worked at New York City Opera in the marketing department, and I absolutely loved this job. However, I shared many of those same frustrations, and there was a ton of turnover. In fact, turnover is a significant issue in our industry. The Society for Human Resources Management estimates that every time a full-time employee leaves, it costs between 6 and 9 months of salary to replace them. We can have the best marketing, programming, and development strategies in the world, but without a focus on people, culture, and organizational health, we will not be prepared to meet the challenges of the 21st century. I left Lincoln Center in an office for this tiny little desk in Brooklyn and had the opportunity to build Capacity Interactive. And 11 years later, we are now a team of close to 90 people who love the arts. And my leadership team and I spent a tremendous amount of time thinking about how to create a people-first culture. And we've made many, many mistakes that we've learned from. But I feel at least a little confident talking about this because for 3 years, we've won this. So what I'd like to do for the rest of my time here is to tell you about some of the resources and ideas that help us as we think about our organizational health. The single greatest advantage any company can achieve is organizational health. It's free, and it's available to anyone who wants it. This is Patrick Lencioni, author of The Advantage. And he says, you have to look in 2 columns for success, smart and healthy. And many well-intentioned leaders spend all their effort on the smart side, often ignoring the healthy side, which is really the key to being successful. Danny Meyer, the restaurateur, in his book, Setting the Table, talks about employees first. He looks at stakeholders within organizations, and most organizations put their customers first. But he flips that around, putting employees first. And he says if the employees are happy, they're going to give the customers a great experience in the overall business, and everybody will be more successful. And that is something we have adopted successfully at Capacity. And I'd like for you to think about the stakeholders of your arts organizations, the board, the staff, the patrons. How does that continuum look? This is about leading from clearly defined values. Who here has clear values like this for their organization? And I'm not talking about your mission. I'm talking about the guidelines for how you work together. I think it's critically important for the leadership team to embody those values, for it to work. For example, openness is one of our values, and we have an open floor plan where we all sit in the same desks and we move seats every 3 months, no offices. We've learned a ton from Google, and Google's HR team did a study on what made certain teams successful and other teams not successful, and the number one thing they found was psychological safety, the ability to take risks and not feel embarrassed if you make a mistake. This is about vulnerability for you Brene Brown fans. Kim Scott, a former Googler, wrote a book called Radical Candor, all about giving feedback. She says, feedback is not meant to make us feel good or not make us feel bad. It's to help us get better at our jobs, and we do not get enough of it. Radical Candor is about caring personally so you can challenge directly. I highly recommend checking out her book and her podcast all about the importance of feedback. Now, the final resource I want to share with you is from the HR department at GE, and they bucket their employees into 4 categories. The high-performance, high-value employee you want to retain. The low-performance and high-value employee you want to coach. But the challenge comes with the top left matrix, the high-performance, low-value employee. That is the person that meets their goals but is a nightmare to work with. They kiss up, they kick down, they make our cultures not fun to work in. We need to learn to part ways with those people amicably with the same grace we brought them into our organizations. So this may seem highly aspirational. This is really about incrementalism, and it's about educating yourself and sharing it. And to that end, on the Capacity Interactive website, I have a 60-minute version of this webinar. I'm so passionate about this topic, and I have a link to all the resources I talked about and many more. Good art is about getting in touch with our humanity, and it is my hope for all of you that your organizations can get in touch with the humanity of the people who work there. Thank you.